This is scary. Hashtag 25th Amendment.
President is not equipped to do the job.
So now they're saying he's mentally incapacitated. And more than 24 Democratic lawmakers are backing a bill that says he should leave office.
Should he be removed from office?
His brain is simply incapable of processing the information, emotionally, psychologically unstable. Initiate proceedings to remove the president.
You and several of your Democratic House colleagues met with a psychiatry professor from Yale, Dr. Bandy Lee. She told CNN today, quote, as the president is unraveling, he seems to be losing his grip on reality and reverting to conspiracy theories.
Dr. Lee and other psychiatrists who've been up to meet with members of Congress have been predicting increasingly delusional and paranoid behavior on the part of the president. The president is dangerous and unable to successfully meet the powers and duties of office. We got serious stuff to deal with, and instead we're caught up every day in what looks like the country debating the mental health of the president. So it's a very dangerous and unstable situation. The issue is, what is our institutional responsibility as the U.S. Congress? And we've got that under the 25th Amendment. Everybody should go and read it.
No, Trump needs to be medicated and hospitalized at this point, or he is going to just kill all of us.
People are talking about the 25th Amendment, and they're saying he's just not mentally fit to be the president. And I think if you're doing this, I mean, is there a mental fitness problem? We all know the ramifications of nuclear war.
Can Americans be concerned about the president's mental fitness?
This president is not fit.
This is 25th Amendment kind of stuff
that should have already activated the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to remove the president as unfit to serve under the 25th Amendment.
And invoking things like the 25th Amendment. You know, they brought in this Yale psychiatrist.
Watch the president closely. Is there a case to be made for the 25th Amendment?
Specifically under the 25th Amendment.
The president's not fit for command.
But, oh, man, he's really having some problems here.
That's where the 25th Amendment thing started to come up.
Fitness for office. Could the 25th Amendment be Trump's downfall? Here's how it works.
They believe the president should be temporarily removed from power. The vice president should become the acting president.
Would Donald Trump pass the Air Force test for personnel working with nuclear weapons?
Absolutely not, without further evaluation.
25th Amendment at the moment is the only thing we have.
Just focusing on cognitive, and we'll get into neurological and mental health in just a second. But when we hear Dr. Jackson saying that the president scored a 30 out of 30 on this cognitive test.
What I would have liked to have seen, if there's any suspicion, as I'm sure there is, about his mental status, is to go a little bit further, which could have easily been done. That could have been done by doing an MRI. There's no medical diagnosis of jerk, and that jerk is a condition that disqualifies you from holding office. 25th Amendment hasn't been developed in a way that allows it to be called into, invoked if there is serious concern.
The man is crazy. And if he's crazy and incompetent and stupid, then we have to look at the 25th Amendment.
Trump is not fit to be president, which is what myself and many people argue.
They all think he's dumb. They all think he's stupid. They all say he's an idiot.
That he's lost track of reality one way or the other.
Yeah. He's like a fifth or sixth grader in his intelligence. That's an insult to a lot of fifth and sixth graders. I think he should
First of all, I think saying he's ignorant is kindness at this point. Doing the 25th Amendment without actually doing the 25th Amendment.
Why can't they just be honest with America and come clean instead of protecting this president and possibly harming the American people?
They've made a decision to execute the 25th Amendment option of removing Donald Trump from the presidency. They just haven't told him or us. He's a dangerous man with a degree of mental and personal instability that puts the country at risk.
The president of the United States is unfit to be president. Here comes the cold, bony fingers of insanity and authoritarianism to grab your ankle when your foot drifts off the bed. Theoretically, the 25th Amendment might be useful for removing President Trump from the office of the presidency.
The 25th Amendment is there so that you can use it.
This was the first place where the 25th Amendment was discussed after Donald Trump was inaugurated, exactly 1 month into the Trump presidency.
To try and invoke something like the 25th Amendment, to do something about it.
And I think that as citizens, we have to think about what our options are. Is it impeachment? Is it the 25th Amendment?
Confronting a president who is so clearly lawless, so clearly out of control, so utterly uninformed.
If there are whispers about the 25th Amendment,
whispers among cabinet officials early on about the 25th Amendment.
Whispers among cabinet members about the 25th Amendment.
Whispers among
cabinet officials about invoking the 25th Amendment.
Whispering about the 25th Amendment.
Whispers in the cabinet about invoking the 25th Amendment.
Instability, amorality, inability to function.
And I think Donald Trump is wounded.
They should invoke the 25th Amendment.
Start discussing the 25th Amendment.
Investigate whether or not he's unfit.
The president may be unhinged and mercurial and constantly lying and doesn't know what he's doing.
We don't have a president, and we have a president who's there, but he is not capable of doing the job or living up to the responsibilities. It's really scary.
Google searches on the 25th Amendment, top searches for Kim Kardashian.
We have a president who is not capable of doing the job. Leaders all across the world are making judgments about our president and our country.
You lost
and
to George
all
W.
kinds
Bush.
of risks as a result of what they're reading about this presidency and the United States. This is dangerous.
We are in a worse position than we were in Nixon's final days, because with Nixon, you could certainly doubt his moral capacity to do the job, but nobody could doubt Nixon's intellectual capacity. On the other hand, with Trump, not only is he amoral, but he's also too stupid. He doesn't understand the basics of the job, so he can't carry out his duties. We should be talking about invoking the 25th Amendment, but unfortunately, Republicans are putting party loyalty above patriotism. They are acting as protectors for Donald Trump because he still has the support of their base, and so they are allowing this travesty to continue.
In fact, he may be unable to serve. The 25th Amendment is there.
There are adults in the room to protect the U.S. from the president.
We need
John Kelly.
We need people to speak
Kellyanne
honestly.
Conway.
Absolutely.
Steve Bannon. Jared Kushner. Let's hook them up to a polygraph. You know what? It's a serious offer.
Commit to serving a full second term if reelected.
Yes.
Thank you. We know the president says that his health is fine, but it's just his brain. And that he's sharpest before
He was joking, by the way. I just want to make sure that that's out there. And he was making a lighthearted joke as he was speaking off. He's speaking off the cuff, and he was making a joke. You know the president; he likes to joke a lot. He's the same guy who says, "I know I look 40." Right? So he likes to make jokes. It is a joke. I think people laugh when he says it.
Well, he
So
also
it is a
said he's sharpest before 8 p.m. So, say that the Pentagon at some point picks up an incoming nuke. It's 11 p.m. Who do you call? The First Lady?
He has a team that lets him know of any news that is pertinent and important to the American people. He has someone, or that is decided obviously with his National Security Council, on who gets to tell him that news.
All right, welcome to News from the Pew. It's the internet, and we talk about stuff. So I am the host, Rick Barrett, the Armed Catholic, and
Poolside.
we are what?
Poolside.
Poolside, one of my many pools. I have many pools, many different ones. This one's nice, not very big. It's okay. And of course, I am joined, as always, by the godfather of Catholic YouTube, Mr. Steve Cunningham. And we have some stuff to talk about, folks, in America's next top president. It continues. The reality show, you got to hand it to him, Steve, because before, you and I are like, this is boring. Nobody's watching, this, that, and the other thing. All of a sudden, Joey's crazy, and we need to replace him. Now, everybody's paying attention, which is getting them through these summer months as they get closer to the fall. Ratings couldn't be higher. They could not be higher right now, as people are just every single. Joe Biden has a presser tonight at 6:30. What are we going to do with that? What's going on with that? And so it's you got to hand it to them. Like I said before, they certainly spun this from being the most boring election in a while to being an absolute nail biter.
I just saw the hurricane tweet. It made me laugh because I retweeted about the last hurricane was Category 5 before it got to the islands, and I said something about why don't they just vaccinate it? It will kill the hurricane, and
just nuke it. Just nuke it.
Yeah,
Man.
it weakened to like I think it came a tropical storm in the Gulf. You're in Texas. What was it when it hit you?
It was a A
It was a
one.
one.
So
Tropical
that
storm.
everyone was
Actually, you
losing
can
their
ask
mind.
Brian. Brian, what was it when it hit you down there? Because he was the one who he was the one who dealt with it.
Everyone was losing their mind. It's the biggest hurricane this early in the season. Ended up becoming. I saw some videos of some flooding, which happens with tropical
It's Houston,
storms.
man. If they leave a faucet on, Houston floods. That's not a good
Dude,
indicator.
I didn't hear a peep out of that thing
Yeah.
from the time it hit the islands until it said I saw local news. They were all about it. It could get strengthened in the Gulf. Wait a minute, that thing's now just a thunderstorm and before the Gulf. What happened? This thing was supposed to be the hurricane of hurricanes. The Caribbean just took it out? I thought it was hot down there. But when you talk about just the drama, it's just they always have to look for something because those guys were saying this is going to be we're expecting 250. I know I'm lying. I'm joking. It's like 24 hurricanes this season, and you see them now. It's pretty quiet out there. There's actually nothing going on. But yeah, they have to have some kind of drama. I mean, you have was it Hakeem? He's out there going.
The Dream Shake's coming down the line now.
Yeah, he's out there wanting to get rid of everything. You got Kamala out there with the U.S. team taking photo ops. I saw that, retweeted it out, going, they're gearing her up to take over to be the man, because I think they had an article earlier this week saying that there was an inside source. Take it whatever you, because you have inside sources all over the place, even in the church, because there's an inside source saying the boogeyman's going to come take down the TLM, and then there's another one saying, guys, that's hogwash, it's not happening. So take it with a grain of salt. Any rumor, don't lose your minds over it. But they said, yeah, that he was going to be taken down this week. So we got at least 2.5 days left, probably a day and a half. And Kamala was going to be inserted. Maybe that was
Monday of this week. Yeah, Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch, all of them pegged. Monday was the day he was going to get. He was not just going to step down from the actual running, but he was going to resign the office.
That was Monday. I was dealing with AC issues because it's funny that you and I talked about how to stay cool when the AC goes down, and literally after we got off, probably about 12 hours later, it was 80. It was low 80s in this house. So. Yeah, we were trying to figure out a way to get it back working and up. So I didn't see it was Monday.
Yeah, it was supposed to be in that regard. But you have this whole thing with Kamala, or they're going to ride with Biden, folks. There's no way, because I thought I had it.
It goes back to the debate that was a planned event. It was staged that way. They wanted, I think it was a weather balloon to see how far Joe could do it, or what the party would sense the party, if they were united or not. Obviously, it's split. And again, I think they're just going to use this excuse to go with the script, look at the drama, get people viewing obviously on this. You got to work. You got to be united for DJ Trump, President Warp Speed, who people that still think he's an outsider. Oh my God, you guys, again, it goes back to who's smoking what? You think he's an outsider? Come on, man. Guy grew the swamp. There was no drainage of the swamp. The daggone thing grew. Again, Warp Speed. And he drone bombed more than Obama. We go over all that. But I mean, I told Rick yesterday, I will buy a MAGA hat today if he ends up going through with it, because he ended up floating the idea of getting rid of the federal income tax. And that has changed. I can believe it right there. Anybody want 40% of their income not going to the feds? I think you'd be behind that too. So,
well, he's big on the no tipping. The no tip thing was his big thing. So he feels like he came up with that out of nowhere, which was kind of hysterical when he was doing that at his rally the other night. And it was kind of, it's like, yeah, when I used to bartend, we never did. You had a book at the end of the night. You were supposed to keep your you were supposed to report how much money you made that night, and nobody ever did. You would put, if you made $200, you'd be like, oh, I made 50. Like nobody ever did anyway. So
no, we never wrote down anything. I don't know anybody wrote. I never saw a book.
I used to be a waiter at bars and things like that for a long. No one did that.
Yeah, but well, in Rhode Island, it's a little different, buddy. In Rhode Island, it's a little different. But Trump, he comes up with everything.
But I did.
4 months, because it's going to go into effect very quickly. Make sure that you write on the receipt, vote Trump for no tax on trips. No tax on tips. That's a good one.
Yeah, like he came up with it. He's the first guy to ever come up with that stuff.
That goes into kind of what went down the last couple of days with you have the voting for the SAVE plan.
Oh, the SAVE Act.
The SAVE Act, which a lot of GOPers voted for and a lot of Democrats have voted against because it had to be a party thing. And that's all about getting the vote thing going. Let me pull a tweet up that DJ Trump put up back in 2020. You see it right there. Big 2020 election. Millions of mail-in ballots will be printed by foreign countries and others. It will be the scandal of our times.
By the way, big shout out, Christopher. You stay safe up there, but thank you for listening.
On a tower? What do you mean on a tower? I'm sorry,
He's working. Look, the pictures of him on a tower. What do you want?
Great Googly Moogly. You ever seen the movie? I think they made a movie of the tower. Did you see that?
Yeah, the one with two girls hanging on the tower or whatever.
Yeah, they just go up. They sit there. It's wow.
And one of them dies or something like that. I don't know.
So 2016, they talked about it was Russia, right? They did the elections. 2020, that was before the elections, right? It's June 2020, June 22, 2020. If you look at the date before it. So he's calling out what was going to happen down there. He came up with the real ID thing, and he called it. If I can find it again, I lost it. But he put out the SAVE. Is at the end of the document was he's going to call it the SAVE Act, and it was all about getting the elections together for the right driver's license, right this, right all that. So you didn't have this mess up with the systems and all that. Convenient in a sense, which they're voting on right now. In your mind, you're going, yeah, I don't want illegals to vote. Okay, grant you that. But what is the solution? They come up with a problem and they present you a solution, which you're gonna bite. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go for that. And what's the devil in the details? It is the digital ID coming down. DJ Trump put that in during the Rona days. That was during all that nonsense. Was this real ID thing? I remember when I moved back to North Kakalaki, I had to get a new driver's license.
Yep.
They offered me, "Do you want to get the real ID?" And I told them to go shove that up there. You know what? Just give me the regular ID. And they go, "Oh, you're not going to be able to fly." I don't care. I'm not flying anyways. And because they have to do the passport thing. And that's what Thomas Massey is out there saying, that they just delayed that to 2025. Big ding, 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 ding. If anybody follows any of the Agenda 2030s and Agenda 25s, that's one of the target years is 2025. And people ask him, "Are you going to get one of these?" He goes, "I'm going to delay as much as possible because I don't want to be a part of that, because it's a control system. Like, was it 1918 with the Spanish flu? You got which was the Kansas flu, actually. It came from the military base in Kansas. And Dr. Sam Bailey just did a 20-minute video on that just to explain it a little bit more to you. So it's a fantastic thing if you want to watch it. Dr. Sam Bailey's YouTube channel, I'm surprised it's still on. And I noticed, hey, the young kids didn't get affected. The old people didn't get affected. It was the military age guys that just came back from World War, the Great War, World War I think it was. And they were the ones that got hit, because that's a lot of people during Rona was trying to compare it to, this is just like, you got people wearing muzzles and things like that. There was churches being closed and things like that. Philadelphia was closed and these cities were closed. And there was photos of guys playing baseball with masks on and all that nonsense. And they're trying to bring the whole thing together. Oh, wait. Rona started from a military complex. Spanish flu started from a military complex. What is the problem here, ladies and gentlemen? I just throwing it out there. Anyway, so all this digital ID stuff came from there, and the passport, because the passport, you could use to travel all over the place without having to present a passport. Now it's show me the papers, please. Where are you coming from? So they have to figure out where that is. Just like these IDs, where are you going? Where are you coming from? Why are you here? And it's all about, yeah, we want to do the votes. But no. That's the devil. They get you with that. Just like they did that with the gun situation a couple weeks ago. They're making it a health issue now.
Then they declared it a public health emergency. So now they can do all kinds of stuff with that. And you would be, absolutely appalled, Steve, when I was flying back from New York. Just through the domestic, like when I came back from Rome, you had to do facial recognition to go through. Not great, but I understand DPS. Nope, they use facial recognition at TSA for normal flights just from around in the country. So you had to do facial recognition at the Albany airport, and there's no way you can get around it. I didn't have to do it to go from Dallas to New York, but from New York to Dallas, I had to do facial recognition. They had to stare at the screen and go through, which is why if you want to fundraise for a trailer for me, I would be very appreciative of it so I don't have to fly anymore. So if you start a GoFundMe, please, for I don't even want anything big, like a little teardrop trailer, something 3,500 pounds or under so I can tow it. I just need a bed, a bath, and a shower. That's all. Y'all got to help me out with that. I'm only looking for like 10 grand. It's not that much. You guys can fundraise that in no time. I wouldn't even want like a nice Airstream. I just want a cheap one. Just something I can, drive to conferences in before Steve tells me that they're going to get rid of cars in 8 years anyway. So it's either one or the other.
Here's one of the acts, HR 1262. Here's the website, the Real ID Self. Excuse me. Meet your new ID, the one that's ready to fly.
Yeah. Yep.
And you notice all the planes. You were talking about this. All the problems with the planes. Obviously, was it who's had the worst? The Boeing has the worst, but it was almost a collision the other day at JFK. I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, dude. They got rid of so many air traffic controllers that were competent just because they were white. And now it's just like an air show with the planes flying all around and near each other and stuff. It's
I'll never forget.
Please get me a trailer.
I picked up this guy in Uber one time in Denver, and he just got out of study, and he was taking the test to be an air traffic controlman, and he was describing me the insane study that you had to do just to do that. And I've heard from before long ago that was one of the highest suicide rates was from those guys because the stress level is so high. But after he explained, I was like, these guys are just brainiacs. This guy was doing, he could see what was going on in this guy. We stopped the car and he described it. He goes, that's what that is over there. That's what this is over there. And he was just off the top. And you have to literally be focused all that time. And you have a DEI lady, whatever in there, you're going to see things coming out of the sky, which will lead to, they don't want you to fly anymore. Gas going up. I mean, the hurricane, quote, quote, that came through Texas, they shut down some of the oil rigs. They delayed some of the pumping because we have this massive, it was a thunderstorm for the rigs. And they shut it down. Why? Gases went up. Because Brandon just put the gases back down a little bit, trying to get this a little bit. But, we get the blame me thing. It shot up like 30 cents here overnight. Over just like, what, a Cat 1?
Yep. Yep. And I mean, shout out to you people in New York. I don't know how y'all deal with gas up there. I get mad when it's 309 down here, and you people, your regulars 345. They really are trying to just squeeze you out up there, but it is beautiful. I get why you stay there. Yeah, that's just my point on that. But yes, it is. They're trying to squeeze you out as many different ways as possible, Steve, because that's the whole point.
And here's the act from right now. That's HR 8281. Chip Roy from Texas is the one that put it in. And again, it sounds all nice and fluffy and good, but again, what these things will happen is going to be digital ID, and both sides want that in. Why? Control, power, and control. And this sometimes I'll get like little, why am I guarding? Why am I doing this? Because we had a new HOA just come through, and the entire area is ticked off at it. It's communistic groups because they don't want you to have pots in the front, or whatever. And I got mint there. I got like 9 different varieties of mint in pots, and everyone else has pots too. And sometimes like, forget it. I'm just gonna quit. And you see this digital ID stuff. Eventually, you're not going to be able to buy what you want to buy. You're going to have to buy only what you were approved to buy. Travel where only you're approved to. You get in that digital card. It's that was that one thing with the eye. South Park made it funny with. I don't. He was saying Kyle was. What do you think you're going to do, Kyle? I'm trying to think of the movie, but anyways, I don't think you're going to do this today, Kyle. And so you get in the car. I need to go to mass. Nope, not going. Yeah, or if it's outside the 15-minute city, where are you going to go? By the way, did you see France? One of the churches are burning right now.
Yep. Well, that's after France, pretty much submitted to Islamic rule and the socialists. Ironically enough, how they lined up on the same side on that one, to pretty much continue to let France will, within the next 10 years, and you were hearing, security advisors and all these other people making this statement, within the next 10 to 15 years, France will split. There'll be New France and then Old France. New France will be the southern part, right? The southern part near, the more rural areas and stuff like that. Northern France will be the Islamists and everybody in Paris and all the cities up there. That's where it's going to split along those lines, because it's not sustainable as one country at this point.
Bingo. That's exactly what's going. Decentralization is not just a U.S. thing. Centralization came from the French Revolution. Looking at France, what did that voting? I think Paul Joseph Watson has a good video on it.
Oh yeah, he's done some coverage on that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And what was it? The main cities run just like New York. New York City runs New York. Boston runs Massachusetts. L.A.
Providence runs Rhode Island. Yeah.
It's common sense stuff. I guarantee the people in the outside regions did not vote for Che Guevara style stuff for the run France. You got to decentralize all these things. If you call yourself a quote unquote conservative and think this is a country, you're wrong. If you want centralization with DC, you're not a conservative. If you're not for little r republicanism, you're not a conservative. You want decentralization across the diagon board, even in your state. Break up New York City. New York City could be like 5 different republics. It should be. How many millions of people live there? That's unsustainable in representation. Anybody that says, well, we got no taxation without representation. Shut up. You don't have that now. You think, that's 1776. That's when they actually did have a little representation. I mean, at least they could say they petitioned the king. Hey, we don't like this, and it happened. You're going to petition your king now, and before you think, no, we don't have a king. Hold on, let me see this.
You're about to elect one in 4 months.
Well, tell me this isn't an elected monarch. The way the travel is right here. This is going close down the city. Obviously, this is for Trump, but this is before that. Look at that. And,
you also want to. I was going to save this for my my cry room, and I think I will. If you don't think you're living under an elected king or an elected bourgeoisie, Jill Biden actually had this made for her in 2021, and she's just rolling it out now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the First Lady of the United States,
not
Jill
a constitutionally
Biden,
elected position,
accompanied by the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, and the 2020 and 2021 National Teachers of the Year, Tabitha Rosproy and Juliana Urtubey.
He had this made in 2021. By the way, it sounds like a bunch of circus freaks, but this is called Fanfare for the First Lady. It's her own exclusive song that's played for her every time she comes out. That's my cry room, by the way. I mean, she had her own song made about her, so sorry for spoiling it early. But that you do live under elected kings, because they have their own fanfare, their own music, their own lifestyle, their own motorcades. Like Sonia Sotomayor, the Supreme Court justice, her bodyguard shot a guy in DC that were trying to carjack her car. the idiot was trying to carjack a cop car. But you know what I mean? They have their own. He should have been let go just for that. But like, all right, kid, you're kind of dumb. Get out of here. But he got shot, and there you go.
Here's for those not knowing at home what a president can and cannot do. Big treaties with approval of the Senate. Keywords, with approval of the Senate. Veto bills and sign bills. That's supposed to be for if they're constitutional or not. If it's not constitutional, he's supposed to veto it. If it is constitutional, he's supposed to sign it. Hence, executive. Represent our nation talking with foreign countries. So that was the big thing about Articles of Confederation. They didn't have a centralized, at time, monarch. Like I said last time, George Mason predicted that we'd have an elected monarch. But they didn't have anybody for foreign trade. They didn't have and they didn't want a centralized government like this. They wanted a centralized guy that could do some things for foreign. If South Carolina got invaded, they want the entire 13 colonies or then states be able to unite to help each other out. Now that's turned into NATO, which we can get into later because that happened this week. Enforce the laws that Congress passes, act as commander-in-chief in a war, call out troops, protect against attack, make suggestions about things that should be new laws. Suggestions, not make new laws. Lead as political party, entertain foreign guests, recognize foreign countries, grant pardons, nominate cabinet members, Supreme Court justice, high offices, appoint ambassadors, talk directly to people about proms, represent the best interests of people. It should include play golf as much as you possibly can.
Yeah. Spend as much time in Delaware as possible, please.
Yes, just get on the golf course and shut up. That'd be great. A president cannot make laws. People think that I guarantee most people think a president can make laws. A president cannot declare wars. That's Congress supposed to do that. But since FDR was able to coerce a Congress response after we set that up. Declare war, decide how federal money will be spent. Shocking. How's that been going? Interpret laws, choose cabinet member, Supreme Court justice without Senate approval. So again, look at what we got now. We got how many people in a debate or I promise, I do this. I will do this for you. I will do that. I will do. No, these guys are not supposed to be able to do anything. Hence why you brought up the idea of the GOP abortion thing. I remember talking about this before, saying, I wouldn't care if the president thought there was green men living in Montana, lizard people underneath the Denver International Airport, which that's literally a thing that in Denver. Or if
the Devil Airport that is Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I know this is going to be shocking.
Horse and everything.
If we stuck by with the Constitution and what we just read, who cares? He would not care one bit what his stance on baby killing is. Is it a bad thing? Yes. Should we want it? No, of course not. But he has no power to do any of that. So it shouldn't really, again, goes back to the states. We have 50 states, 50 countries. We could eliminate that right now. Everyone's losing their mind about the GOP abortion thing. We could here's an easy one. Decentralization, end it at your state, done. Now what's next? That's literally how easy that is.
Yep. And so just real quick, if you're not familiar with what Steve's talking about, earlier this week, the GOP voted, I think 84-18 to codify, not cauterize, but codify the 2024 platform from 66 pages to 20 bullet points because the American people are stupid. And among those things that were missing, abortion, not mentioned. Same-sex marriage, not mentioned. Gun policy, not mentioned. So officially, this week, your grand old party solidified what we all knew to begin with, which is just the Republicans are the Democrats going the speed limit. That's all it is. And who can you thank for all of these things? DJ Trump, baby. Donnie T is the reason why the GOP has officially confirmed that they're just Democrat light. So, I mean, you could vote for the lesser two evils, but there's no mention of pro-life causes in there. There's no mention of the natural order as far as marriages are there. And there's no mentioning of your God-given right to keep and bear arms, because they don't care about any of those things, guys. You only keep in what you care about. And if you exclude those three things, it shows where your priorities are.
Have you seen this? Agenda 47?
I've heard of it. I know Trump is talking about that in regards to he's being put into a corner of Project 2025. So he's talking about, I don't endorse Project 2025. I do Project Agenda 47. And so that's kind of what he's pushing instead.
Okay. Yeah, it says the plans include constructing freedom cities on empty federal land, investing in flying car manufacturing, and introducing baby bonuses to encourage a baby boom, implementing protectionist trade policies, and over 40 others. 17 of the policies that Trump says he will implement, if elected, would require congressional approval. Some of his plans are highly controversial, such as ending birthright citizenship, and may require amending the Constitution. Many proposals are contentious. One Agenda 47 proposal would impose the death penalty on drug dealers and human traffickers, as well as place Mexican cartels on the U.S. list of foreign terrorist organizations. Trump also suggests deploying the National Guard to inner cities with high crime.
Great. So that's some dictator stuff right there.
Yeah, some people might go, yeah. Well, especially that last one. Wait till the wrong guy gets a hold of that one.
Yeah. It's not Trump you should be worried about. It's the people after that are going to use what his template to push their agenda further. Come on, people.
You get a precedent like that, a precedent.
Nice. Yeah.
Be careful what you select. Voting doesn't really matter. I mean,
yeah, that is true.
Did I ever play here the one from 2020 on voting? What's his name? Clint Curtis, I think it was.
No.
This is from the year 2000.
Mr. Curtis, are there programs that can be used to secretly fix elections?
Yes.
How do you know that to be the case?
Because in October of 2000, I wrote a prototype for Congressman Tom Feeney at the company I worked for in Oviedo, Florida, that did just that.
And when you say did just that, it would rig an election?
It would flip the vote 51-49 to whoever you wanted it to go to and whichever race you wanted to win.
And would that program that you designed be something that elections officials that might be on county boards of elections could detect?
They'd never see it.
Not a shock. Not a shock.
Year 2000. So wait, the tech has gotten worse or better in 20 years?
Probably a little bit better, since in 2000 nobody was carrying around these things.
And they want everything to be digitalized.
Yep.
They want. I mean, they're not talking about paper ballots. They're talking about getting everything. Real ID acts, real IDs, real all this stuff. They can spy on you in every corner of the room. Your TV, your washing machine, your dishwasher, all that stuff. So yeah, voting is just an illusion of control for the rest of us. Bring in Vanilla Ice. I mean, did you get paid for this? Did you get a T-shirt or anything like that?
No.
Hey, we won. What did we win? Who is we? It's my dad. You say you got a turd up your butt. What's this we? There's no we.
Yeah, there's none of that. It's really mostly just trying to keep you sedated, for lack of a better term.
Here's something when centralized ideas or screw-ups affect the local area.
In the grips of a devastating police officer shortage now, some are recruiting illegal immigrants to try and fill that growing gap. Seattle is the latest city to advertise police officer jobs to DACA recipients, people who were brought to the country illegally as children but have grown up in America. Illinois, Washington, Colorado, and California are among the states that have passed laws to allow so-called dreamers to become police officers. New Jersey and Wisconsin are considering legislation. Virginia's legislature passed a law to allow dreamers to become police officers, but it was vetoed against by Governor Glenn Youngkin. Jason Rance, radio host on KTTH Radio in Seattle, reported that the city's police force is at its lowest staffing levels in almost 70 years. The desperate department now among the growing list of those turning to DACA recipients.
So they're bringing illegal immigrants in to fill up their positions in the police office. But since we have this, Washington should be able to do whatever Washington wants. Seattle wants to do that. I live in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Why should it affect you?
It's not affect me one bit. If California wants to do it, sorry. If you live in California, that's on you. That's a you problem. You know, get upset about it. But that's a local thing. That's because of the federal thing. Everything's got to be nationalized, centralized. That portion of not being able to let Washington do whatever it wanted to do is now affecting the local police force, which you see that all the time with was it just the other day or something about some First Amendment issue? I can't remember. Father sent me a text about it, and I go, it was Idaho, something about Idaho. I go, that's actually a violation of the Article 1, Section 3 of the Idaho State Constitution. It took me 10 seconds to find the Idaho State Constitution. I don't live in Idaho, but it's easy to find out. And I guarantee you're not going to hear that off Beck, any of the centralized nationalist shows, etc., like that. They want you to think.
It's just easier to vote for Washington, D.C. It's just much easier to do that. It's less work. It's kind of like when we talk about Pro-Life Inc. Much easier for them to go to the feds instead of each individual state.
Mm-hmm.
So, looking at that and looking how they do that, the only recourse to something like the new GOP platform is a good governor. Like Governor Landry, I know in Louisiana just vetoed $1 million that was supposed to go to Catholic charities.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he's like, we're not doing it. And I completely support that because I've said before, any group, and that includes Catholic charities, if they are involved in anything to do with the border crossings, if they're assisting illegal immigration, these criminal aliens across the border, then they are complicit in human trafficking. And I know people don't like to hear that because that's very icky from a lot of people, but it's true. And the only way to get around that is to defund it, not allow that to take hold. And a good governor can do that. A good attorney general can do that. A good sheriff can do that. Good city council can do that. And that is the point that is being drummed in on this show, at least time after time after time. And you just have to continue to do so. Go for the local. The local is your best defense. That's it. I mean, that's really all you can say in that regard.
Here's literally the opposite.
Continue to plot evil schemes, to cause mayhem and chaos and suffering. In Europe, Putin's war of aggression against Ukraine continues. And Putin wants nothing less than Ukraine's total subjugation. To end Ukraine's
Isn't that what Lincoln did to the South?
Democracy.
Yes.
Destroy Ukraine's culture. And to wipe Ukraine off the map.
Exactly what they did.
And we know Putin won't stop at Ukraine.
March to
make
the
no
sea.
mistake. Ukraine can and will stop Putin.
Yeah. Okay. Okie doke.
Joe Biden and his NATO counterparts are gathering in Washington as Russia continues to advance on the battlefield in Ukraine. The agenda for this year's summit is predictable, from supporting Ukraine to tackling what they see as the evil bogeymen, Russia, China, Iran, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Back in 2022, NATO labelled China a security challenge for the first time, also warning that Russia posed the most significant and direct threat to peace and security. And the language used by the alliance toward the pair hasn't softened.
The war in Ukraine demonstrates how closely aligned Russia and China and North Korea and Iran are. China is the main enabler of Russia's war aggression against Ukraine. President Xi and President Putin, they all want NATO.
Is a product of the Cold War, and it has been virtually resurrected as a result of the conflict in Ukraine, and we're seeing it, this organization to continue expansion these days. And the latest summit right now that is being held in Washington, D.C. is now even proclaiming that China is becoming the threat. So what is this? This is going really too far. NATO seems to be interested only in finding new enemies, picking fights everywhere, and this is not right. And being a North Atlantic, based organization or a military bloc, it is now even advancing to Asia. And this is really absurd. And I think the Chinese government is right to have made the point very clear that we are not a country that is interested in picking fights with people. We're a peace-loving people. So for NATO to pick China as the scapegoat for its own military expansion, that is totally groundless.
Efforts of the BRICS countries and other members of this organization and our supporters clash against the forces of the so-called golden billion, the countries that oppose us. Their elites are working against the interests of their own peoples, and in fact today they're trying to enshrine a kind of order, a rules-based world order, rules that no one has seen, no one has ever discussed, and no one has ever passed or accepted those rules. These rules are written and adjusted every time in an ad hoc manner to suit a situation as it stands. It is done by people who believe that they are special and they have the right to dictate their will to the rest of the world. This is very much in the vein of traditional colonialism.
Notice that the Chinese guy said something about the going out in the world seeking pretty much people to fight, which is contrast to the original, how many presidents, first 100 years, J.Q. Adams, we don't go out searching for monsters to slay. Now we go on search for monsters to slay. Brandon out there doing that big speech. This is, if you look on Twitter, they're all saying, look at Brandon. How great he is. He sounds like he's presidential. Yes, if you actually look at what the founders probably would say about that, they'd probably roll in their grave over what you just heard, because that was what an emperor wants to sound like. Oh, by the way, you see the everyone's favorite libertarian. Hey, Argentina will send aid to support Ukraine and Israel in their wars.
Yep, you got to bend the knee somewhere, brother. You got to bend the knee somewhere. You can't get out of this. You can't get out of it scot-free. There's no way. There's absolutely no way.
If anybody watch VeggieTales, you ever watched it? I get it with the kids. I love it. I get it. I start singing to the front. Silly songs with Larry. So he's got one. Where have all the staplers gone? So when I think of NATO, I'm going, where have all the terrorists gone? We're supposed to be scared of terrorists for the last how many years? 2 decades, 3 decades, movies about them, all this. You're telling me that if terrorists are real, do they just not pick stuff like that? I mean, not saying that we want that to happen in NATO or anything like that, but how come nothing ever happens to stuff like that? It happens at Boston Marathon. It happens at other places. NATO events like this, which is pretty much told where it's going to be for the last, I don't know, couple decades. Nothing ever happens to these things.
Nope.
It's just I don't buy the terrorist idea. Now I do know, obviously, if they go to a church or something like that, yeah, that happens in the Middle East and things like that. Here, I ain't buying that. It's either CIA, as they say, CIA stage like 9/11 was, and all that other stuff, and all false flags. There's no way you could tell me terrorism is real and NATO gets away scot. Nothing ever happens to these globalist events.
Well, they're globalist events. They need to keep the wheels need to keep turning, so they get spared. With the Boston Marathon, they don't. They're not important enough to be spared. It's really that simple when you look at it in that regard. So in regards to all of that, the way it keeps focusing, also the level of security that's at the NATO stuff is pretty much through the roof.
Well, I get that idea. I mean, we're supposed to believe, an airplane just took down the pentagram and in a professional corkscrew maneuver that no one has ever done before, except if they take the safety features off and
Oh yes, yeah. I mean,
the day after they announced that they were going to, check out the books, the money books, it happened to be the same office that they were going to do that in.
Oh, they lost. Who was the guy? It was not Rumsfeld. Was it Rumsfeld? Yeah,
it was Rumsfeld.
Who announced how much money they actually lost?
Yeah, we're gonna go to war on the books. We're gonna audit the pentagram, and yeah, that's the next day. Oh well, who knew that exact office got
the one that was targeted?
Apparently, the plane flew over the general's offices to do a corkscrew dive to take out the audit books.
Well, also Tower 7. If you want to look at Tower 7 in New York, just you say whatever you want about the Twin Towers. Tower 7's a little weird.
We're just supposed to be living in fear, take our shoes off, get naked at the airports, things like that.
I don't have to do any of that stuff, pleb, because I pay the government $85, so I don't have to.
See, okay? I let them fill me up. I said, "Go ahead, be gentle. Take, I make a fuss out of it just because I'm that kind of guy."
Y'all get me a trailer, so then I wouldn't have to do any of that. But that's okay.
Yeah, it's been 6 years, something like that, 7 years since I flew, which I don't think I will again. Which is not a big deal.
I don't like flying. I don't like flying at all. But it is right now a necessary evil, I guess. As you
you're the art author and speaker and everything like that. That everyone wants to come out to. So
yes, and I'd like to have a trailer to do that. I'd like to so I don't have to I don't have to inconvenience people by staying at their places. I'd like my own nice little home in a little trailer. Just the American dream, right? I just want to be an American bumpkin, staying in a trailer all day and hanging out while the world kind of just falls apart in that regard. Hold on. I was having a little bit of technical difficulty there. I had to update my MacBook, so I think it's now it's totally listening to everything I do, so it's getting a little fritzy. Yeah, getting a little fritzy on that on in there, and then there are areas to look at. But it's outside of that, guys. I mean, it's been pretty quiet out there. Everybody's focusing on America's next top president. That's the big thing. Will Joey B. leave? Will he not? It doesn't matter either way.
It's a great script. Will he go? Will he stay? Who's coming back? And look at the infighting as the Democratic Party united. Whether they break the quote, we're not even on the same book. It's fantastic TV drama if you want to pay attention. If you want to pay attention to all that nonsense.
Yeah, no. If you're, I mean, I analogated, if that's the right way to put it. Your only thing you're doing there, folks, is like watching professional sports. You're just speculating over something, or even better, WWE or something like that. You're just speculating over stuff that doesn't matter.
Well, at least
it's already baked in. Yeah.
At least they fight in WWE. There's two old people yelling at each other. One guy can't talk at all. Come on, just put the blows together. Get Jello or something. Let them rumble it out. Man. Make it interesting.
Yeah, that's. But they won't, because Sally the soccer mom and Frank the football fan don't care. One thing you have to realize is that most people aren't paying. The people like us that are terminally online, that are attached to this stuff. Yeah, this is a big deal for us. Sally the soccer mom, Frank the football fan, don't care. Frank only gives him a rip that, conference realignment took place, and that Texas and OU just joined the SEC, and that college football season's like 3 Saturdays away. That's all he cares about. And Sally's trying to get her vacations and stuff in line before the kids go back to school in August. So nobody cares about what's happening politically. They just don't.
I mentioned that back with the Rona, the lockdowns. Like you do that to the you shut down college football season, you're going to see riots in the street.
There almost was.
Almost. That's the only thing people care about.
Yeah.
You tell them, they're poisoning your food. I don't care. All right, look at is that supposed to be like that? The grids? Maybe that was supposed to be the cell phones. They got everybody looking down on their cell phones because no one looks up anymore. And while you're looking down the entire time, they're spraying the air with all kinds of stuff. And then they say, look how hot it is, which again is You know, you look at the records on your local areas, it's usually still in the 1920s, 1930s. It was hot this
It's
week.
just in a different color now, buddy. It's just in a different color now. That's all.
Different color. You know what else? 100 degrees. All right. Well, guess what? There's food that grows on. I got some air mat that's about yay big now outside, loaded with. No one knows about it, but you're supposed to still go to the store.
If your ancestors lived,
FDA stuff that goes
if
bad
your ancestors
earlier.
lived in the South before the 50s, they were hot. It didn't matter if it was 95 or 105; they were still sweating. There was a whole culture built around days that were too hot to work, right? Or you had limited work, and so that's something that we've gone very, very far away from. And,
well, if you worked back in those days, back in the days of yore, there was no union. There was no big time corporations that are working with the governments and things like that. There weren't no mandated 40-hour work week. It's kind of like working on your own. You work when you want to. So maybe you're out doing something in the early morning or late afternoon. You're not doing it in the middle of the day. And whereas today, if you're working like they had a report on construction workers during the bad heat. And it's, well, why are you doing it at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Just do it in the evening. Do it, you work out at night. You can do it at night. You don't have the sun bearing down on you and things like that. No, but you're forced to work between 8 and 6 or whatever you're mandated to do it. And so it goes back to the control freedom. We're going to, take the humanity out. We're just working for the almighty dollar. If somebody falls out, the next man up in line takes over, yada, yada, yada. And oh, by the way, we control everything in your life. And when we click that button, when you get that digital ID, because you didn't want, I'm trying to think of a name, somebody that came across the southern Texas border, you don't want to give them an election. The TV is going to tell you should be scared of Menendez because you're going to get 100,000 of these guys and they're going to vote. You're never going to get the right vote again. So we're going to do this, whatever. Make sure this is going to go down that. And then 5 or 8 years down the road, you're going to see, oh, by the way, this is now morphed into digital ID. You now have to present your papers before you walk into any store of employment, any store, because maybe you don't have your up-to-date jab shot, which is new ones coming up in a couple of weeks because
the fall's coming, and that's obviously long COVID season.
Well,
on the way.
Rona got screwed up. The type of the code got messed up. It came out in July instead of August, September. So now you got to worry about that now. They got to hurry up. They got to warp speed 2.0, the next jab, which if you don't want to ever talk to another friend of yours that talks about the jab or is a Rona's disciple, just tell them to go get the next vaccine.
The vaccine, as Stephen Colbert called it, right? So make sure that works that way. But
remember, whoever you vote for, they're for the jab.
Oh, Big Pharma. They're all sponsored by Big Pharma. They're all sponsored by the war machine. It's not, there's not going to be anything. New boss is going to be the same as the old boss, who ironically enough, if Trump was the old boss before the new boss, who's being replaced by the old boss.
Yeah.
So that's, just as I think Bellator said in our chat room a while back, live for holiness. Try to stay in the state of grace. We don't live to be here. We live for a holy death and a blessed eternity. That's all that really matters. I know everybody wants to make these United States the paradise on earth. That's just impossible.
Make your city or neighborhood the paradise on earth, and not a utopia in a sense, but go convert one person. And if you want to, obviously, convert to the true faith, but convert them to this mindset of decentralization too. Because if you can get somebody to stop watching, pay attention to,
local races,
the swamp, and focus on your local area, you might get something done.
Yeah,
it might actually look good.
Yeah, you actually might see a turnaround there. As you see in places like Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is actually a very good governor with some of the stuff that she's been putting out. Landry's really good in Louisiana. DeSantis is the standard bearer. He's still trying to, he's still there.
So good
You just
governance
never see
exists,
Catholic
guys.
guys talk about this. It's all the Catholic vote guys. They're all centralized MAGA guys. I think Pennon was talking about the GOP just stands for abortion again. It is all centralized. You can't find anyone out there not talking about centralization. It's all you don't hear priests talking about governors or vote for make sure you get the right vote for your sheriff. It's all about DC. It's all everyone focused on these. It's the
president and the Supreme Court, Steve.
Yeah, the U.S. Church and Catholics here. It's all centralized in politics. They all think central. It's all one country. It's all that nonsense that came out of the 1860s. It's all that jazz. If we can get that focus,
it's very Masonic.
We turn that focus from the clerics and they start talking about decentralization. It might get hated on for it, but it would actually help. Maybe it'll change the voting. Right? Maybe we'll just not do that, and we'll actually have some progress in the right sense of getting solutions instead of literally just probably running in the hamster wheel. Hey, why is this not working? Well, we keep doing the same thing over and over again, and we think it's going to work. We literally live in the definition of insanity every 2 to 4 years. Hey, let's just keep voting for a new, elected monarch. That'll change. We'll just get the new guy in. Yeah.
Never. Nope. You're just voting for one or the other. One team. You're either voting for Yankees, Red Sox, Texas, Oklahoma, whatever you want to call it in that regard. So
you vote for that team and you lose.
Yeah. No matter what, you will lose in the end. Speaking of which, we're going to do our cry room and our saying of the week because I have to
you got things to do. You're an important person.
I have to get a haircut. That's how important I am. I got to stop scheduling them on Thursdays. I got to stop doing that first of all.
You getting another photo op? Is that what it is? Makeup and all that coming through? You got to get all cleaned
I pray to God I never have to do one of those again. Most uncomfortable 30 minutes of my life. Whatever. So I am going to start. I already played you my cry room. Awful. And that was the best one too. That was one of the better ones. And that's how bad it was, is that that was the best one. So either way. So my because was I back last week for that? Yeah, I was. My saying of the week was the Catholic Land Movement, because they were amazing. But I'm not going to make them that. I'm actually going to use Jeff Landry. I said it before, but he'll be my saint because he did push back against Catholic charities, which needs to happen more and more and more across the union. So good for him. Hopefully more people will follow that. My cry room, you heard it already. Jill Biden with the fanfare for the first lady. The worst secret in the world is that she wants to be the president, and that's why she keeps Dead Man Joe around so she can stay in the White House.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, weekend at Joey's at this point. It is the meme. The meme has come to life in that regard.
Saint of the week. I'll go with cry rooms right now because I can't. I don't know what this is about. Did you see this? This came out earlier.
No.
Today, I announced the Biden-Harris administration is proposing their first ever national health and safety standards for maternity care in hospitals. Right off the bat, you think of, if you're thinking this way, well, we keep pounding away national health and safety standards. Screw that idea. You shouldn't want national health and safety standards. Again, this goes back to the idea of there are 320 million people in these United States. And if you decentralize things and actually act like there are states out there with borders, it ain't 320 million. And you want a blanket standard for 320 million people? Now, anybody with 2 working brain cells knows that does not work for anything. This will help ensure that every mother in America receives quality care throughout pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum. Establish maternity safety standards for 6,000 U.S. hospitals serving 98% of pregnant women. Collaborate across healthcare facilities meeting the level. How come you can do a quote unquote national health and safety standard, but you can't let insurance companies sell across state borders?
Because then they wouldn't have control at the national level.
All right. Yep. supply life-saving resuscitation equipment for delivery rooms, train hospital staff for best prices and cultural competency to ensure quality health. People were actually asking, Kamala, who was it? You need to pick a side. Either you're for abortion, which is the murder of babies, or you help and encourage struggling mothers with their new angel. What it's like?
Yeah,
what do you guys? What is it? You're speaking out of both tongues. You can't. How you be for both? Honorable mention in the cry room. The lady that's supposed to be was it Amber Rose? Not religious hippie, but another
the founder
Amber
of
Rose.
the Slut Walk. Yeah,
the Slut Walk lady. Supposed to be.
Speaking at the convention,
RNC, again, put your hope and you put these guys up at some level. They're just
when you worship celebrity, this is what you get.
And you're supposed to for anybody else. I'm saying, where's my Kermit thing? You're like sipping tea.
Yep.
Watching all these guys online just lose their minds. I can't believe they're doing. You can't believe what? That a politician, by definition, a politician blows smoke at people's whats. Or it's the great line, they need to be changed just like babies for the same reason. Diapers, they're full of what. You're surprised that this is happening. So maybe the crime should be the people that believe in these guys.
People that push it. Oh, we're winning the culture war because we have Amber Rose. She's doing it because she knows there's a lot of MAGA money out there that is waiting to be soaked up by boomer white people who are just like, oh, I like that Amber Rose now. It's like, no, you don't. Yeah. No, you don't. You're just saying it, and it sounds awful when you say it. So, yeah. So you have nobody for the for your saint of the week?
It's hard because it sucks so bad out there. You got NATO going on all week. I guess I would put up the guy that did this. We can't download it for some reason. No. But I'll put the journalist up because he asked Governor Hochul, how stupid do you think New Yorkers have to be?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, good for that guy. At least
just because it was a hilarious comment, and it's you're talking about a lady that is terrible. She's very terrible. She's so bad that the guy that was trying to kill grandparents he's better.
Yeah. Yeah, she's awful. She's terrible. She's the worst. But yeah.
So it's I guess the bar is low for the level of that, but it was a rough week trying to get the AC back working for the kids and all that. People are like, "Why don't you suck it up?" I go, "Yeah, I would. I don't mind. I slept fine that night with 80s, but the 6-month-old wasn't doing too.
Yeah, how about my kids? Fun. My kids aren't doing well right that. So
yeah, kids were having a tough time. But there were two. I don't think they knew. I had a couple big fans blowing on them, so they were all right. But
yeah.
There
you go, folks. So keep praying for Steve's air conditioner.
Well, it works great now.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Theograph, yes.
Now I had to go upstairs. Apparently, the attic is where they put the thing in because we're like, where's the filter in this thing? We had no clue, and the guy comes over, fixes it, and it's upstairs. It's a 4-inch filter. Okay, great. And whoever put it in there, you had to see how bad it is. I freaking disintegrated it pulling it out, and it's 3,000 degrees up there. So
the attics
just dripping.
Attics are the worst in the summer and the winter. They'll burn you in the summer and freeze you in the winter. It's just how it goes.
Well, but, yeah, it was nuts. But this thing works great now. It just runs all the time because
it's hot.
5 degrees out there.
Yeah. Well, we hope you stay cool out there, folks. On this latest.
Be cool like Rick.
Yeah, no, please don't. Be if you want to be cool, be the opposite. Please just be the complete and total opposite. Whatever I do the opposite. You're gonna be fine. But thank you for hanging out with us from News from the Pew. Like, subscribe, and share the News from the Pew. We will talk to y'all next week. Stay cool out there. God bless, and Viva Cristo Rey.